Okay, what looks to be a road here through the woods is actually the old West Virginia Midland Railroad grade. They pulled the tracks up roughly around 1940, pulled the iron rails up for the war effort, but they left all types of spikes, connector plates, nuts and bolts. So we're going to see what we could find. Okay, I'm using my Garrett Ace 400. That's the screen. I have it set on everything. So we're going to see what we could find here. Now, just a few feet from where I set up here. You see it's whole range of numbers there, up to about 35. I think it's just a piece of iron, so it's probably a spike. Now that's the Garrett Pro Pinpointer 2 that I use to locate it. What I do when I find these targets, after I was able to pinpoint this, I dig like a horseshoe of the grass up when I'm out in the grass area, flip it over on a hinge, and you'll see what I found is that's the top of the head of a spike. So this was a spike that held the rail down and it broke off. So when you're done here, you can just flip that. Let me show you here real quick. Just flip that back over, tap it down, and you'll never know we're here. Okay, just a few feet from the head of that spike. Looks like right there's the broken spike. No head on it. Try to find one intact spike, and then we're going to look for some more serious things, because you could find along anywhere of the 23 miles of the Midland grade from Hawley Junction over to Webster Springs. Tens of thousands of these. I don't know how many I've collected over the year. I have a couple hundred in my house. And again, I'm going to toss it aside. But I just flip that back over, tamp it down, and like I said, you won't know we're here. Now, if you recall, I was talking about where the two rails meet. There was a connector plate with bolts and nuts going through them to hold them together. Right there is the top part of a bolt. So we found a head of a spike, the bottom of the spike, and now part of a bolt. I'll stop when I find a full piece, like a full spike, and then maybe hunt them. Okay, these spikes and bolts and things connected to the railroad, usually about 4 inches under. They sink about an inch every 20 years they've been under the ground. Because I'm a little bit more out in the field, this may have been planted in corn and plowed at one time. I knew they harvest the hay here. So here I've dug my horseshoe with the hinge of the grass there, and let's turn the pinpointer on. So it's a little bit more than 4 inches, but it's right in this area here. So you could see surface-wise, I was getting nothing when I was running the pinpointer on the surface. The metal detector told me about where this was in this circle here. Now that I've got it about 4 inches of dirt dug up, now I know where to pinpoint and dig just a little bit more. Exactly where the pinpointer said it was, of course. There is my first fully intact spike, railroad spike that held the rail down. So now that we found that, obviously I knew this was the Midland Railroad grade. That would be looking up the right fork of Hawley River, but where this came down. Now I'm going to try to hunt something more important. Okay, there was a recent post about seeing these flowers in the springtime. It's evidence of human habitation, if nothing else. They don't grow naturally out here. They may be spread by wildlife. But these flowers in particular are right next to this old cellar house right in here at the Jonas Carpenter place, old Jonas Carpenter place, which hasn't been used since about late 50s, I want to say. That's more of the foundation. I think the house was just right up there. This is where their cellar house was, kind of dug into the bank here. And as you see, these nice daffodils here. I might swing the metal detector around a little bit here. But there are all types of these flowers, like right in front of this house. Right back here in the woods. This has grown up in the last 60 years, obviously. Okay, I'm looking really just for coins, but I've got the iron audio on just so you hear what that sounds like. You see, there's obviously iron up here. I'm going to ignore that for now. All over the place, iron. Okay, I've got a really interesting signal here. This is the path. Yeah, notice some of the flowers there along the edge. And you see that roll of wire there? The chicken wire. Leads right up to the cellar house that I showed you. Let me show you this signal here. It's 8183. It might be one of those old canning lids. That's zinc causing this. So we're going to see what this is here. That's the best signal. Everywhere I go when I have this set on the non-discrimination mode for the metals, everywhere there's metal. All over the place where this cellar house and the house sat right there. And you'll notice these two big trees. These are original trees. That's got to be 4 feet at the base there. Those are about 3 feet each. Right where the old Jonas Carpenter house sat. Well, that 81 to 83 signal, was that old top of a can? I guess some type of pop or beer can, I guess. Pull tab, as you could say. It's interesting that the top is broke off of it. The metal detector reads the type of metal as well as the shape. I think it's got fooled by this shape. It was kind of reading up where the $half-dollar range is. I went over it. There's no other metal in the little hole where that was at. So that thing fooled that metal detector to push the numbers into the upper range, and that does happen. It's not foolproof. Just too much metal here where this old house site, cellar house was. I'm gonna swing it around in the center there, just see if it reads anything. I'm surprised I haven't found one of those zinc lids with the porcelain liner. Okay, moved way up into the run from where the Jonas Carpenter house was. And that railroad grade that we started at was near the Jonas Carpenter place. This is a much, much older, old cellar house here. This probably goes back to the 20s and 30s, what little bits left of it here. So we're going to go around this flat area in here at this old cellar house site, as to be expected. Of course, some rusted nails there. But there's these zinc lids, zinc metal, and you'll see that's the white porcelain underneath. Okay, the inside of the porcelain cap, like the others I've found, says genuine Boyd's cap for mason jar. And they put that porcelain liner underneath there because the zinc would contaminate the foods that you'd be canning. I'm trying to pull that, there you go. It says zinc underneath it there. Interesting way of canning back then. The old cellar house is just right over there, so I'm about 50 feet away. Had an unusual signal here. Maybe you power company people could tell me, doesn't that look like some type of connector into a pole? This is like the insulator here. Big piece of metal with a bolt going all the way through. Don't know, but this is on this flat here, where I believe the house was, next to this cellar house here. Right next to it, another piece of metal there. I have no idea. It's like a bolt of some type. Now, right on this flat, I've found some unusual objects. This looks like almost like a nail of some type. I don't know. It's odd. It reads as copper. Of course, a couple of those zinc lids. This one was broke with the porcelain liner. And just right up here, all along in this area, I find all types of stuff. There's metal all over the place. And if there's any doubt this was the house site, in addition to what I think were those electrical conduit where the wire come in, here's the whole deal, well casing. So this place might have went out about the same time the Jonas Carpenter place went out in the late 50s, being electric up here. And again, just right over past that tree there, between the two larger trees, that's where their cellar house was, right there.